Well, good morning, everybody. It's Caroline Stevens seeking the truth. Please do share this video. The one is going to be about a red, white, and blue Brexit, or are we now going to fly the red flag? So, hence, I've put the Union Jack back up for this show. So is it a red, white, and blue Brexit, or are we going to be flying the red flag? That's a serious, serious question. And you will be asking that question once you've heard the show, I hope. Okay, so there's a lot of information. Now, our relationship with China runs very deep. It's much deeper than many people think. Now, I'm going to go back over the Rockefeller report in 2010, which I've mentioned previously. Now, this was a foundation paper and it predicted how a pandemic can be used as an excuse to establish global authoritarian power. Now, the first scenario, titled Lockstep, describes a world of total government control and authoritarian leadership. It envisions a future where a pandemic would allow natural leaders to flex their authority and impose airtight rules and restrictions that would remain after the pandemic fades. So this was 10 years ago, literally March of 2010. So in March 2010, a few weeks later, we had a general election. David Cameron became the Prime Minister and he led a coalition between the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats. Now, let's have a look at our Parliament at this stage. So there's quite a bit of a mix here. We've gone from the Rockefeller report in March 2010, David Cameron elected May 2010, and the House of Lords. Now, we think, or a lot of people still think, that the House of Lords has power, that they actually do something. Well, you might be forgiven for this mistake because they have virtually no power left in the House of Lords. Their powers of being the checks and balances, providing the checks and balances for the House of Commons, pretty much was extinguished after the Parliament Act of 1911, and then there was a subsequent act of 1949. So that is a fact. So why do we have a House of Lords now? So let's have a look. I'm going to zoom on. Now let's have a look at some of the individuals in the House of Lords. We have got, well, let me introduce you to Lord Wey, W-E-I. According to Wikipedia, Nat Wey is an English social entrepreneur with an interest in social reform. He went to Oxford University and studied languages. He's the first British-born person of Chinese origin to have become a member of the House of Lords, sitting as a Conservative, and was the youngest member of the House from 2010, that magical year, to 2016. So he came into the House the same year as David Cameron took over as Prime Minister. He, according to his website, he's interested in economic and cultural ties between the UK and China. So this is going back to 2010. He is the most senior ethnic Chinese politician in the European Union. Now, let's see what else we know about Lord Wey. He was also previously an advisor to the UK government on their big society project. Lord Way is the founding partner of the Shaftesbury Partnership, the founder of Make a Life, a member of the founding team of Teach First, and a former advisor at Absolute Return for Kids. He's also a former fellow of the Young Foundation and World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? So Lord Way is also the chairman of the Conservative Friends of the Chinese. On the 18th of May 2010, at the launch of the new coalition governments on Big Society to a group of community leaders, Lord Way was appointed as the unpaid government advisor on Big Society. He was based at the Office for Civil Society in the Cabinet Office, where he worked 1 day a week and advised the government on all aspects of taking forward the Big Society and driving implementation across government. Now, at the launch event, the Prime Minister David Cameron announced that Way would also be appointed, wait for it, a life peer. So he was introduced in the House of Lords on the 3rd of June 2010 as Baron Way of Shoreditch. Now, lost it. Right, so I'm back. So can you see he was only advising for literally a matter of days, weeks, and then he became a baron. And although he was unpaid, you see, he was only doing 1 day a week. And when you consider all the unpaid work we're doing to try to save this country. Right, so yes, he was appointed as Baron Way of Shoreditch in the London Borough of Hackney. Of course, you'll remember that David Cameron also arranged for the appointment of Justin Welby as Archbishop of Canterbury. Now, just as an aside. Now, in 2012, Manchester local government commissioned Lord Way to write a report on how Manchester can best engage with China. Following that report, a Manchester-China Forum was established, which hosts regular activities to help member businesses share information and knowledge, including seminars, meet the buyer events, and other networking opportunities. Lord Way continues to work as a non-executive director. Now, that was 2012. Now, if you remember, 2012 was a very auspicious year. It was when the UK hosted Summer Olympics in London, and it was formerly called the Games of the XXX Olympiad, and that's commonly known as London 2012. Now, by all accounts, XXX represents a secret code for the dark side. I'll go into that more in another program. Now, if you remember, they had 2 mascots with just one eye. They were giving those toys away, actually, at McDonald's. Those mascots were called Wenlock and Man, and they had marks on their forehead, W and M. Now, it just so happens to be that a senior officer of a Masonic lodge of the Freemasons is the master, and he is normally addressed and referred to as the worshipful master, and he presides over all ritual events and ceremonies. So that's the highest office with Freemasons. And is it just a coincidence that the mascots in the Olympics have the initials W and M? Anyway, there's lots of other symbolism, which I will go into in a future show, one of which is the rainbow, which is, of course, as you know, the rainbow is being used at the minute for the lockdown, the pandemic, I should say. Now, I don't know if you've seen, but there's a video circulating on Facebook at the moment, and it shows one of the opening ceremonies at the Olympic Games, and it has lots and lots of hospital beds being wheeled in and dancing nurses. So obviously, or maybe it's not so obvious, but a lot of people are connected that opening ceremony with what is actually happening today, with the dancing nurses in our hospitals, which are often empty, and we've got people in, the hospital beds. It's sort of, I think it's quite significant. And remember, we're talking about the dark side, which has lots of hand signals, and they focus on symbology. And the rest of us perhaps are we wander around and not realize what's going on. But I'm now looking at XXX. What does that mean? So we've got the security of the Olympic Games, if you remember, was provided by a New World Order organisation, the G4S stroke Serco. And that's just something for us to bear in mind. According to the Independent, the following year, the Serious Fraud Office was supposed to be investigating G4S claims of overcharging for government contracts, but still around. So we're going back to the Lords again, the House of Lords. Let's take a look at another Lord. I'm looking at Lord Bates now. He became a Lord in 2008, and he also attended Oxford. He served as a Director of Research and Consulting for Oxford Analytica, and an international consulting firm using a network of academics for Oxford and universities around the world to undertake research in economic, business, and political trends. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Lord Bates was Minister of State at the Department for International Development between October 2016 and July 2019. That's Department for International Development, where our aid comes from to countries such as China. He was previously a Minister of State at the Home Office from 2015 to 2016. Now, he actually has a Chinese wife who he married in 2012, the year of the Olympic Games. And between them, they set up a Walk for Peace Foundation. And if you can imagine the FOR, for, in the O bit, it looks very similar to this symbol, the laurels again. So another message. So this is the Walk for Peace Foundation, set up by Lord Bates and his Chinese wife. Now, his wife's called Sulin. And it says, Michael and Sulin live in London, and they have decided to devote their lives to promoting peace and understanding between countries, religions, cultures, through the simple act of walking. So they've been doing lots of fundraising, walking around China. Michael does the walking, but Sulin does all the supporting, going ahead to plan the way, staying behind to pay the bills, and raising funds for the charitable causes they support. Now, rather than raise funds for the work of their own charity, Walk for Peace, they support the work of other charities such as Save the Children, UNICEF, Red Cross, the Prince's Trust, and the last time they were seeking to raise funds for projects helping children and young people in a Chinese province for donations. In Shenzhen province. Now, for donations from the UK, we will be supporting the work of War Child. Now, 2016, the Times reported as follows: Britain has been secretly sending millions of pounds in aid to China 6 years after claiming that it had stopped. So why has Britain, since at least 2010 to 2016, been sending money to China secretly? Time said so. Now, what I found is this. Don't know if you can see it. This is the front page it's got the British Embassy in Beijing in the corner, and it says China Prosperity Fund Strategy, Policy Objectives, Financial Year 2016 to 2017. So, the Times have been reporting about Britain sending money secretly to China. And in their article, it says China, which has the world's largest economy, exports more than any other nation and boasts a manned space program, yet receives up to £10 million a year in development handouts from the British taxpayer. Now, the website for the Department for International Development, which claims to allow the public to track how aid is spent, wrongly claims that the funding has fallen to zero. So this is the Times, this is the mainstream media, generally is supportive of the government, in black and white, saying that the government website has been falsified, I guess. It's not giving a story. So we can't even believe a government website. Right, so that thankfully we had the Times newspaper. So the same year that the Times reported, UK and China held the 8th Economic and Financial Dialogue, and it had various policy outcomes. On the 10th of November 2016, the Chancellor Philip Hammond, Chinese Vice Premier Mark Ai concluded the 8th UK-China Economic and Financial Dialogue. Now, what did that mean? Well, this is going back to 2016, and we've been giving lots and lots of money to China prior to that. Okay, so their meeting, the UK and China reiterated their commitment to building a global, comprehensive strategic partnership for the 21st century. They will continue to work closely together to achieve the shared goal of strong, sustainable, and inclusive growth of the global economy, including continued commitment to global trade and an open international economy. So, of course, this happened just after the British people had voted to leave the European Union. Of course. By which time we were busy with China. But we'd been giving them money for years before that. So listen to this. As part of the strategic global partnership between the two countries, the Chancellor and the Vice Premier agreed various outcomes. Now, I tell you something. The list of outcomes is as long as your arm. So I've just taken a small part of what their plans are for the future. Remember, this is 2016, so Britain and China very, very, very closely aligned. Uh, the London and Shanghai stock exchanges will now proceed with the preparation of implementation arrangements to deliver the London Shanghai Stock Connect, a commitment to strengthen communication between the Financial Conduct Authority and the China Securities Regulatory Commission to progress work on the mutual recognition of funds. So UK is welcoming China's decision to grant qualified British banks an underwriting license to allow lead underwriters of panda bonds in the China interbank bonds market. So they're working together. China's agreement to work towards raising the limit to foreign ownership of UK and foreign life insurance firms operating in mainland China to above 50%. So we're buying into China at a greater percentage than 50%. So you see, there you have it. We've got Parliament and the pandemic. The UK has been funding China secretly for years. We've got House of Lords busy in the Department of International Trade. They're busy doing things that you've got to scour the website to find out what they're up to. So not only are these peers getting, say, £323 a day, but they're busy doing other things, not helping the British people at all. So there's another point, what's actually happened in 2016. The UK initially invested up to 50 million US dollars in a bank called the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So it's to prepare for infrastructure programs, with the UK being only the second contributor to the fund, second to China, that is. There's 4 countries now involved, and that's China, UK, Southern Korea, and another Asian country. I can't remember off the top of my head. So what they're using in what they're going to do with this bank? Well, it says they aim to accelerate much needed development, excuse me, in the poorest Asian countries. So basically, we can no longer think about this flag, because we should be thinking of the red flag. This is the flag now we're going to be flying, because it's quite clear by what's been concocted behind the scenes that we will now be flying global communist flag in the future. And this flag is no more. That can come down. That will never be around again. You can forget about this. There is no Britain. There is no Britain. Absolutely no Britain. You see, ladies and gentlemen, what our government has been doing with taxpayers' money, right? That's our money, okay? This has been the Treasury. We've been putting money in there, and the government has been taking it out of here and giving it to fly the red flag. That's the bottom line. So there's no point in thinking that China owes us for any pandemic, because we do not exist. Our parliament, has been in the Lords, the Commons, they've been taking our money and promoting China. And you haven't even heard the half of it. But I don't want everybody to fall asleep with exactly what the British government is doing. I'll do it. I'll keep that for another show. It's not funny, is it, really? This is so they must be laughing at us because they passed the Coronavirus Act and then they went on holiday. And now we're hearing of so many cases where people had no symptoms of any flu and their death certificates are saying CV-19. Do you see the picture now? Why is it that mortuaries were being planned for? Why months and months ago? Think about the Olympics opening ceremony. Is it a coincidence? The fact that the Olympics was the triple X Olympics? I don't think so. Because we have the documents here, ladies and gentlemen. We are totally entwined with China. We have set up a bank with China. So anything that these MPs will spout about, well, we're going to cool relations, that can never be the case. Never be the case. Remember, we do not have nation countries anymore. It's no longer a red, white, and blue Brexit. Here we are flying the red flag of global communism. Please do share this video. Got lots more to talk about, but I'll reserve it for another time. Please stop people talking about Brexit. Yes, Brexit's been and gone. It has. We are not free. We are paying all this money to China. We are working, our elites are working with the elites in China. Is it a coincidence that all these people who get the most affluent, influential positions seem to go to the certain universities? It's almost like people are shoehorned into positions. If you or I tried to get one of those roles, we would never, ever succeed because we're not one of those global elites. So let's not kid ourselves. They are few, we are many. With God's power, with our Creator's power, we need to take back control of this planet. This isn't just a UK situation. We're talking about the UK and China together forever. I'll leave it with you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening, and please do share. This will be uploaded onto Caroline Stevens Seeking the Truth YouTube channel. Take care. Have a good day. Bye for now.